Sheer walls on both sides, hurtling across the countryside through a night black as the dark side of the moon, the red dragon flew. Great beginning for a fantasy adventure, but it was honest to goodness true. I was viscerally aware. We rode in a large red van. I spotted it in the hotel parking lot as my friends, Eric and Helen, swung in to drop me off. Driving past it to find a place to park, I saw a decal on the front and thought, wow, a red dragon. It would be perfect as my ride. I'm a red dragon in the Mayan cosmology designed by Jose Arguelles, published in 1987, that gave rise to the harmonic convergence. Like astrology, it's an intriguing way of looking at how we've been designed for life. It's one of the ways I dive deeply into self-awareness. Playing with the concepts, I've imagined the one we are collectively transforming into a dragon and rising from the body of our great mother into the blackness of the void. But I'd never contemplated being part of a real life story in which I'd be whisked away by an English gentleman with one. But there he was. And yes, the dragon was his, had been for half a dozen years. He'd just returned from weeks living in it, attending to his interests on the continent. Unsuccessful in arranging other transportation for our trip north to the Making Wyrd the Norm conference, he came as he was. I was thrilled. Among the stories he told me about this strange fair land was about the tunnels through which English vehicles travel. I always wondered how such perfection was maintained, trees arching perfectly above idyllic country roads. Simple. New growth is simply ripped off by vehicles driving by. The red dragon is a sight larger than the usual local vehicles, and I was grateful for the skill evident in my companion's driving. Also, I felt it was a very good thing not to see two bright eyes bearing down on us from the other direction. We trimmed a few trees on both sides as we flew by in the inky darkness in search of our hotel, directed by the questionable guidance of GPS. After a few false turns, we came to roost, rest, and ready ourselves for the next leg of our journey. It had all begun with an announcement on Humanity Rising, more about that later, of the Science and Consciousness Making Wyrd the Norm conference in Broughton Hall, set up by Peter Merry of Ubiquity University. More about that too. He'd pulled together people from different fields of science that study paranormal things, like Brenda Dunn's random event generators brought across the ocean from Princeton, meditation, life after death, and what Einstein calls spooky action at a distance. The fact that the conference started on Halloween was not lost on me. It had felt like a long time since the travel bug danced through my life. The lockdown seems to have made it imperative I get a generous dose of travel on a regular basis. A yearly sojourn into the world re-energizes me, especially around my birthday. The conference was just 2 weeks later, a perfect birthday gift. Last year it was Mexico and a Mayan tour with my shaman heart family. I still wear the friendship bracelet tied to tether the past to my present. I hope it never falls off. Focusing myself online and in the garden allows less overhead and savings grow, as well as the garden and my good health, or will once I get a garden growing. More on that later too. I was ready to take a holiday from daily co-hosting of the AfterChat of Ubiquity University's Humanity Rising, started by Jim Garrison when the lockdown commenced. An hour and a half every day for months, May to the end of July 2020. As uplifting as it was exhausting. I don't know how Jim did it, but maybe that's why he took the whole month of August off and came back with changes. It's been 3 Augusts now, and each one is a reset. I wonder about others' experiences. I know that lives change, and now, having had an opportunity to talk to some who have been changed, there is evidence of the value of our weekday gatherings. I feel a need to focus this flood a bit, to allow the flow of information to feed our garden of awareness. Let's set out some rows to cultivate flourishing fun and wise abundance. My English birthday, travelogue with pictures. Diane in London, energy for all activist and community leader. Franca in Margate, psychologist, caregiver in the old seaside holiday town. Eric and Helen, including Oxford, Bristol, and Glastonbury. Oh my gosh, Mom, you need to know about Mom and more. My name woven into a psalm sung by a priestess in the Torah. 11:11 at the Torah on the dark of the moon and eclipse of October 25, 2022. Eric's galactic activation work validation. Doing Oxford with Ian, my guide, an English gentleman, easily a knight in my lexicon. Riding his red dragon together from south to north, Stonehenge, Avebury, Broughton Hall, making Wyrd the Norm and possibilities, Roger and Paris, the hall and all, the yellow book, the filmmaker, the connections, the future. Mount Sinai, Egypt and the stones of peace. What? Why? Who? When? Pictures and more stories. Humanity Rising, Ubiquity University. What it is, who started it, why, how it began, and its possibilities. The AfterChat, who started it, why, and what have we done? Othernetworks.org, origin and possibilities. The One We Are, Philosophy and Mythology, my first story, published in December in Sacred Stories Common Sentience Series, Ascension Volume. Life Cycle of a God, a new story. Our Heart Gardens, the plan, the purpose, the possibilities. More adventures have been written. Others, like the Mexico trip, haven't been finished, but should be. As time allows and curiosity leads, all shall be revealed. And then it goes on to chapter 1, page 1. And that's where I'm going to start. Start stopping. Marco, can you hit that record, stop record button? Thank you.